It's the season premiere of Raw, everybody, aka just another episode of Raw on another week. But this time, coming live from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. And this particular episode of Raw was actually quite good. Greetings, everyone. This is DerekJ Speaks, and today we are covering WWE Monday Night Raw from October 10th, 2022, billed as the season premiere of Monday Night Raw, and top to bottom, I would say this was a very enjoyable show. You know, these 3 hours don't always pan out the best. Even in the Triple H era, these 3 hours are very difficult to get through every single week. But this week was particularly fun. I enjoyed most of the things that happened on this show. Had a few returns, had a big title change, and we got to all have fun with nostalgia for a little bit, especially at the end of the show. So overall, I would give this show a thumbs up. So let's go ahead and get into it. We started things off with DX backstage pulling some shenanigans, particularly Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg, and X-Pac. Of course, they are without Billy Gunn, aka Daddy Ass. But the three of them were backstage and they met up with Triple H, who was sitting in his regular position with the headset on and all that. He told them that they need to behave themselves, no cursing, no talking about genitalia, and all three of them proceeded to do exactly that. And then they told a few more jokes, and then we started off the show. And we kicked things off with the Bloodline, a rare sighting on Monday Night Raw of Roman Reigns. The man won the WWE Championship from Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania this year, and I can count on one hand the amount of times that Roman Reigns has appeared on Monday Night Raw since then, and I would still have plenty of fingers left over. In fact, Sami Zayn and the Usos have appeared on Monday Night Raw far more times than Roman Reigns has, and Roman didn't really do a whole lot on this show when he was there. But of course, Roman was there with Paul Heyman, the Usos, Sami Zayn, and Solo Sikoa. Roman Reigns started to cut a promo. He mentioned how he learned from his father that in most cases, the one who is the loudest is often the weakest. And then he pointed out Jey Uso. But before he could really get into what he was going to say, Sami Zayn interrupted him. Paul Heyman was freaking out, like, what are you doing? But then Roman told him, calm down. But Sami Zayn got on the mic. Sami Zayn was beloved by the Brooklyn crowd on this show. He got chants as they came out, and he got a big pop when he interrupted here. But Sami Zayn interjected, and he reminded Roman Reigns that Roman made him, that being Sami, in charge of dealing with Jey Uso on SmackDown the previous week. So he saw this as an opportunity for him to handle it. And Roman Reigns endorsed this idea, and he told Sami Zayn, you go ahead and handle this. So Sami takes the floor, and he tells Jey that recently he hasn't really been very Usy on the show. He ran down the other members. He talked about Jimmy Uso and how everyone loves Jimmy. Everyone loves Solo Sikoa because these guys are cool. And Sami was asking Jey, we need you to be cool. Not really asking him. He was just saying, like, we need you to be cool. Can you be cool? And Jey, he looked over at Roman. Roman is telling him, don't look at me. Don't address me. But Jey is saying, like, are you ribbing me? Is this a rib? Is this a joke? But before Sami could continue, they're interrupted by Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle comes out and he says that he's fresh off of his victory over Seth Rollins in the fight pit at Extreme Rules, and he wants one more go, one more crack at Roman Reigns and the Undisputed Championship. He acknowledged the fact that the last time the two of them faced off was over the summer in a match with a stipulation where if Riddle lost, he would no longer be able to challenge for that championship so long as Roman is still champion. And lo and behold, Roman is still champion. But despite that, Riddle tried to challenge him to a championship match right there on the spot. Roman declined, and then Riddle turned the challenge around to challenging any other member of the Bloodline who wanted to face him. Jey Uso encouraged Sami Zayn to step up to the plate and take the challenge, and then they got into a whole big thing about saying yeet. Matt Riddle started to say yeet, and Sami Zayn took umbrage to that, saying that you're not allowed to say yeet, only Bloodline members are allowed to say it. But the crowd is egging him on. Jey Uso's playing into it. He's kind of encouraging Sami Zayn to accept the challenge, and Sami did. So we had our main event, Sami Zayn versus Matt Riddle, announced here. The next match, or the first match I should say, the first match of the night, was Johnny Gargano taking on Austin Theory. These two have been going back and forth for several weeks. Ever since the first night, Johnny Gargano made his debut on Monday Night Raw back in August. The two of them have been at each other's throats, so this was the first encounter between the two of them. We had a picture-in-picture break during this match, which was notable. We had it a few other times throughout the night. So Raw, I don't remember Raw really doing the picture-in-picture stuff. Maybe they have, and I just haven't paid attention. I know SmackDown does not, but I'm pretty sure every wrestling show, aside from SmackDown, does the picture-in-picture. But the match itself was a fine, standard TV match. Johnny Gargano, they call him Johnny Wrestling for a reason. Even in standard stuff like this, he is really, really freaking good. So we had Theory do his move where he rolls through the ropes, but this time he got caught with a super kick, got slumped to the outside. In the ring, Johnny Gargano dives through the ropes and he connects with a tornado DDT on Theory, dumps him back in the ring, hits the slingshot DDT, the one final beat, and gets the win. So nothing else to it. Johnny Gargano wins, and Mr. Money in the Bank continues to be a complete loser. The next match was Rey Mysterio versus Chad Gable. The commentators were playing up the fact that Rey Mysterio is very emotional. His head's not in the game, and this was further added on when, not long into this match, we hear the theme song of the Judgment Day, and out comes Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio, who stayed there at ringside for the rest of the match. That Rey won. He got a win. He got the 619 and the splash on Chad Gable to pick up the win. After the match is where the big story of this segment took place. Dominic gets in the ring, goes face to face with his father. Rey doesn't want to face him, so he turns around, and Rhea Ripley is right there on the apron, blocking Rey's exit. So Rey has no choice but to turn around and face his son, who is now egging on Rey to hit him. Dominic is challenging his own father to hit him and fight him right then and there. Rey refuses, and so Dominic slaps him right in the face. He's still egging him on, and it looked like Rey was about to go after him, but instead he sidestepped Dominic and went after Priest and Balor, who came out there. They were trying to get the jump on Rey, but Rey was able to get the better of them. But before he could deliver another 619, Dominic attacked his father again. He beat him down, he stopped him, he cut him off in his tracks, and he's once again challenging Rey to hit him, to fight him right then and there. Rey is getting up, he's rising to his feet, He is looking all conflicted and just angry and sad and heart and broken, everything. But he refuses to lay a hand on Dominic. And then he turns his back one more time to leave. Dominic clobbers him from behind one more time. And he's hung up in the ropes. Rhea Ripley's on the outside. She's pulling on his arms, holding Rey in place for Dominic to hit him with a 619. So he got hit with his own move by his own son. And they cut to break, and then they came back from commercial. They showed what happened during the break, which was Rey Mysterio sitting on the apron, just completely crestfallen and heartbroken at these events. And then this led to a promo from the Judgment Day. Everyone is out there gloating. Finn Balor is boasting about making Edge say I quit. Rhea Ripley is bragging about taking out Beth Phoenix. Dominic tried to speak, but he got showered and drowned out in booze. And then Balor took the mic back and he called out AJ Styles, saying that he's AJ's friend, but his patience is wearing thin with him accepting their invitation to join the Judgment Day. And so Balor was about to lay out an ultimatum, but out came AJ Styles, right on cue. AJ gets in the ring, and it looks like he's about to join up. He's saying how he needs friends, he needs a family, and all this good stuff. And he and Finn Balor hug. And Balor is saying, like, I knew you would join, I knew you'd come around. But then AJ says, I wasn't talking about you. And then out comes Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. The Good Brothers have made their return to WWE. They come out there. Gallows lands a huge uppercut on Dominic. Then there's this huge brawl all around ringside that led to the heels retreating and the babyfaces standing tall in the middle of the ring. It was earlier in the day that the reports started to circulate that Gallows and Anderson were going to be making their return to WWE. Just another in the long line of returns that Triple H has signed off on since he took over creative in WWE. And I can't say I've never. There was a time when I was a pretty big fan of Gallows and Anderson, but the way they've been booked in WWE, in Impact, in AEW, all these different promotions, the bloom was off the rose, and I just can't really get too excited for them. This was a cool moment, and to be honest, the only time that I've ever really truly been interested in these guys were when they were paired up with AJ Styles in WWE. So, and it's another tag team. This company desperately needs more tag teams in this division and more teams to feed to the Usos. So, in that regard, yeah, I have no problem with them being back. It is fascinating to me how Triple H makes these deals work. Carl Anderson, right now as we speak, is the current IWGP Never Openweight Champion for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And here he is on Monday Night Raw, standing side by side with AJ Styles, fighting the Judgment Day. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Forbidden Door Part 2. And people said that WWE would never be involved with Forbidden Door. Here we have a New Japan champion fighting on Monday Night Raw. So, obviously, this will lead to a 6-man tag team match somewhere down the line, and made for a cool moment. The crowd popped for it. They chanted holy shit, so they were excited to see them, and so we'll see where it goes. Cut backstage to an interview that Byron Saxton is conducting with Damage Control. Nothing really important was said here. It led into the next match, which was going to be Candace, Larae, and Bayley. But before that, we had another backstage segment, this one in the parking lot. Roman Reigns is leaving the building, along with Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa. Jey Uso stops him and tells him that he wants to talk, but Roman's like, "No, I ain't finna talk right now." And so Roman is leaving. He's talking about how he and the wise man are going to hit the town. They're going to hit up Manhattan. Going to have some fun. I wonder if they're still out there in Manhattan having fun right now. And Roman gave Jay his marching orders. He told Jay, make sure my honorary Uce goes out there and wins his match tonight against Matt Riddle. And Jay reluctantly said okay, and he told Solo Sikoa to come on, but Roman said no, Solo Sikoa is coming with me. And the three of them left, and Jey Uso remained there. I don't really know the significance yet of Solo Sikoa and this rift between him and Jay, and now Roman is personally asking Solo Sikoa to come with him. Not sure quite yet what the significance of that is, but that remains to be seen. But, as I mentioned before, the next matchup was Candace LeRae and Bayley. Not really all that special. No real crowd heat for this match, and there was never really a chance for it to really pick up. And the finish just came out of nowhere with Candace getting a shock win. I believe she got a roll-up, and she got the win on Bayley, who just lost at the pay-per-view the other night. And this was not one of those strong wins for Candace, because it's like, you won, but did you really? Because as she left the ring and was going up the rampway, she had her back turned to the stage, and out came Dakota Kai and Io Sky, who attacked her, brought her back down to the ring. Now it's a 3-on-1 assault. Out comes Bianca Belair to try to make the save, and she gets beat down too, and Damage Control stands tall. So that was that. Another backstage segment, we had The Miz. He was catching up with his wife, who had an unbelievable outfit on this show. But before that, there was some random guy who walked by who had a giant QR code attached to his back. I'm not sure where the QR code led. I didn't really follow the rabbit hole this week. We had a little bit of a Bray Wyatt thing later on in the night, so I don't know. It could have just been that or something different. I don't really know. But Miz was concerned with Dexter Lumis coming out and potentially spoiling his birthday party celebration, and Maurice gifted Miz with a baseball bat. And so this led into the Miz's birthday celebration. So he's out there, he's healing on the crowd, talking about baseball and all that. He's opening a few of the gifts that Maurice got for him, and he goes to open one gift on the table, but he's struggling to lift it. And then finally, he picks up the box, but underneath that box is Dexter Lumis, who has his head poked out of a table. Miz puts the box back on Dexter Lumis's head for some reason, and then he takes the bat that he still has, and he just starts to smash the box and the table. But then, of course, Dexter Lumis probably ran around, and now he's standing behind the Miz, and he locks him in that standing side sleeper hold that he does. Miz is in a position where he's flailing and trying to kick his way out of it, but in doing so, he accidentally kicks Maurice forward, and she lands into a birthday cake. She didn't get all the way into it, but she got enough of it. She started to roll around herself in the cake. Miz got to the ropes, and he managed to slip out and run away. Loomis came face to face with Maurice, and she too ran away. And then Loomis proceeded to pick up a knife. He popped the balloons that were in the ring, and the fans started an "eat the cake" chant, and he proceeded to cut himself a piece of cake and eat it, and the fans cheered for it. A little bit later on, we cut backstage. Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg, and X-Pac are there again. This time they're talking to two enhancement guys who are getting ready for a match against Omas. But then they are interrupted by The Miz and Maurice, who are spooked and riled up once again by Dexter Lumis. There's a bit of an exchange here, but it ultimately leads to Road Dogg laying out a challenge for The Miz to face Dexter Lumis next week on Monday Night Raw. in a match where if The Miz wins, Dexter Lumis is banned from WWE. He's banned for life. He can never come back. But if Dexter Lumis wins, then he gets a contract. Now, I did not know Road Dogg was a matchmaker, but apparently this stuck because The Miz accepted the challenge, so I assume we will be getting that match next week on Raw. Next up was that handicap match with Omas against these two enhancement talents, these two jobbers. How do you think it went? Double chokeslam later, and Omas gets the win. After the match, he attacks them some more, and that was that. I'm sure in Saudi Arabia, we're going to get Omas versus Braun Strowman, and I don't wish to put that evil out there, but I have a feeling that's what we're getting. Up next, they showed the entire Bray Wyatt return segment from Extreme Rules. The entire segment from start to finish. From Riddle celebrating his win all the way to the end of the show with the little upside down rabbit symbol, whatever, that Bray Wyatt had. The entire thing, start to finish. So, very weird. And it looked like that was going to be the only thing that Bray Wyatt would do for the night, but that was not the last we saw of Bray on this show. And they did have a little bit of an advertisement later on in the show, hyping up that we might get a Bray Wyatt appearance on SmackDown this week. Just hyping up the idea of what's next for Bray Wyatt, so maybe we'll see. But up next, we were about to get a United States Championship match between Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins. Rollins, of course, going into this match injured after the fight pit with Matt Riddle. But before the match could start, Bobby Lashley came out first, and he got on the mic, and he started running down some of the big names that he has been able to beat, including Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins. And as he was calling out Rollins to come out, we hear the theme song of The Beast, and we get the return of Brock Lesnar. Big ovation for Brock in Brooklyn. Brock comes out. He's still Cowboy Brock. I saw a photo on Twitter a few weeks ago of Brock with the shaved face. I got a little upset. I'm like, I like bearded Cowboy Brock. So he came out in this show. The beard is back. He had the cowboy hat. And he got in the ring. The fans were chanting, holy shit. And then he said, holy shit. He greeted everyone, told everyone good evening. And then he got up in Lashley's face and told him good evening. And as Lashley was staring back at him, holding his championship above his head, Brock picks him up and hits him with an F5. And then Brock turns around and the fans start chanting one more time. And so Brock puts down the cowboy hat, proceeds to walk back over to Bobby Lashley, hits him with a German suplex, hits him with another F5, and then locks him in the Kimura lock. And then Brock leaves. The fans are still cheering, not as much, but they're still cheering for him. And then he walks away. Now the referees and officials are all out there checking on Bobby Lashley, checking to see if he'll still be healthy enough to compete in this U.S. Championship match. But now Bobby Lashley's hurt, and he's basically on an even playing field with Seth Rollins. So you knew where this was going. Cut to commercial, come back. Lashley's being helped out and helped to the back when Seth Rollins comes out, and he is egging on Bobby Lashley to fight him and face him in that ring. He starts throwing cheap insults about him being a soldier and how he's now a disgrace to the championship and a disgrace to his country. This ticked off Bobby Lashley, so he gets in the ring. The bell rings. Lashley charges at Seth Rollins, but Rollins catches him in midair with a pedigree. Only good for a 2 count, though. Rollins goes up top, comes down with a frog splash. Once again, only good for a 2 count. He goes for the stomp, but then Bobby Lashley hits him with a spear, and Lashley is now selling the injured arm, so he cannot immediately capitalize on it. He gets Rollins up, tries to lock in the hurt lock, but then Rollins starts to strike at the injured arm. He throws some kicks, some floating elbows, gets Rollins down, or gets Lashley down, I should say, hits him with the stomp. And then he plays to the crowd. He's gloating and flaunting and conducting the crowd as they sing his theme song. And then he turns back around, hits him with another stomp, and he gets the win. And Seth Rollins, the man who was put through the ringer at Extreme Rules, comes out of this show as the new United States champion. The way I see it, they're clearly setting up a Bobby Lashley-Brock Lesnar rematch. We saw the two of them wrestle at the Royal Rumble earlier this year for the WWE Championship. Clearly, the world title is not going to be involved this time, and you and I both know that Brock Lesnar don't give two shits about the United States Championship, so it makes sense that Bobby Lashley would lose it. And this was as strong as he could look in defeat. How else could you justify Bobby Lashley losing the title to Seth Rollins after Rollins is coming off of the loss and the ass kicking that he suffered at the pay-per-view? Well, you have Bobby Lashley come out there and get attacked himself by Brock Lesnar. Now, why would Brock Lesnar attack him? Well, Bobby Lashley did beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. Now, you could ask yourself, this hasn't really been much of a concern for Brock Lesnar up to this point, so why is he all of a sudden upset now? I don't know. Maybe we'll get an explanation next week, because later on backstage, Bobby Lashley was getting interviewed by Byron Saxton again, and this time he issued a challenge for Brock Lesnar to show up next week on Raw and face him in a fight, and he'd prove to everyone that the Beast is nothing more than a little bitch. So clearly this is setting up a match between the two of them at Crown Jewel. Bobby Lashley won at the Royal Rumble. I do not expect that outcome to be the same this next time around, especially considering the fact that Brock Lesnar has lost his last several matches on TV. But it should still be a fun fight. A lot of people didn't really like their match at the Rumble. I thought it was fine. It sucked that Lashley got injured. Hopefully he doesn't get injured this time around, but maybe they can have a bit of a more fun brawl this time around. Maybe throw a stipulation in there. Who knows? So I thought the Brock return was very fun and all that stuff. And now Seth Rollins is United States champion. I don't really know what that means for him, but so long as the U.S. title is the only title on the show, Seth Rollins is the de facto top champion. So we'll see where that goes. As the commentators were talking, we got interrupted by a Bray Wyatt promo, which was clearly a Bray Wyatt promo. It was Bray wearing the same mask that he wore at the pay-per-view. Very Black Phone inspired. I didn't think about it at the pay-per-view, but yes, it does look very similar to the mask that Ethan Hawke wore in that movie, The Black Phone, on Peacock, which I hear is very good. Hopefully I can check it out at some point this Halloween season. But the image is very distorted. The voice is distorted. You don't hear Bray's actual voice. He's saying very deep things, very cryptic things, but on repeat, he keeps saying, revel in what you are, revel in what you are, revel in what you are. And that just keeps being on repeat until the vignette just cuts off. So that was the only real update on Bray Wyatt on this show. playing the long con with it. The QR codes and all that. It revealed what we all knew, which was that Bray Wyatt is back. So now, I guess we gotta play an even longer game of figuring out what Bray's intentions are, who he's gonna feud with, what all this is all about. So, there we go. We also got an announcement that Elias is returning next week on Raw. This was out of nowhere, but Elias is making his return to Monday Night Raw next week. And then in the main event, at least the main event match on this show, Sami Zayn, the honorary Uso, taking on Matt Riddle. Jimmy and Jey Uso were out there at ringside. Jey was trying to interfere at different points, but every time Sami Zayn was cutting him off, telling him, I don't need your help. You told me to handle this. I'm trying to handle this. I don't need your help. Of course, Jey Uso is following the orders that were sent to him by Roman Reigns, the tribal chief. Roman told Jey that you need to make sure Sami Zayn wins tonight. But now Sami Zayn, who is out here, the same Sami Zayn who Roman Reigns put in charge of Jey Uso, by the way, he is telling Jey that I don't need your help. I don't need any help. And so that played into the finish. On the outside, Matt Riddle is throwing a bunch of rapid kicks at Jey Uso, at Sami Zayn. Jimmy Uso is out there. He's ready to pounce and attack Matt Riddle and help out Sami, but Jey stops Jimmy. He stops him, tells him, nope, don't do it. Back in the ring, Riddle lays out Sami with an RKO. Jey still does nothing. And Sami gets pinned. 1, 2, 3. Riddle picks up the win. After the match, the Usos came over to Sami. They're looking down at him. Sami's looking all confused. So the story continues. One of the best stories going in professional wrestling today continues to be the Sami Zayn Bloodline stuff. And while not the best part about this show, it was one of the best parts of the show. And I continue to be enthralled in this story, and I cannot wait to see where it goes. But the big show closing angle was the DX reunion. Of course, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, X-Pac, Road Dogg, they all came out. They're all doing the whole DX shtick. X-Pac gave a shout out to China, so that was really cool. Road Dogg did the whole rundown and catchphrase for the New Age Outlaws. Of course, the other half of the New Age Outlaws is not there, so Road Dogg pointed the microphone out to the crowd so they could fill in that part, which they did, and that was funny. In fact, what was even funnier is Corey Graves was on commentary, and he said the other guy is somewhere else doing stuff with office equipment. So I thought that was funny. And so we had Triple H. He did his part. You know the whole thing. You've seen DX. You know the whole deal. So he does his part. Shawn Michaels starts to do his part, and then he says, if you see us out here in another 25 years, please put us out of our misery. And then wrapped it up with, if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you, suck it. And that was the end of the show. So they didn't do anything really big with DX, nothing to have them interact with any other stars. There was nothing with DX and the Bloodline. I was hoping that we could see some interaction between those two factions. Thought that could be kind of cool. But nothing like that. They just played up the comedy, which even that really wasn't all that much. They had 1 or 2 backstage segments, and then this last segment took up the last 4 or 5 minutes of the show. So they really had no big impact. They just came out there. They gave the people what they wanted to see. The fans really were into it. Even as short as it was, they were into it. So they just sent the crowd home happy. And I guess that's all you can really ask for. So on the whole, not really a bad show. Had some very cool moments. Had some fun surprises, depending on whether or not you're a fan of these people, like the Good Brothers or Brock Lesnar and people like that. But I thought overall, very fun show tonight. So let me know what you thought. Go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section down below. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Twitter at DerekJ Speaks. And I will be back this weekend giving you a review of the latest edition in the Halloween movie franchise, Halloween Ends. That review will be coming to you later on this weekend, probably Sunday. So keep an eye out for that one. So until then, have a good night, everyone.